And on that packaging exactly what you have in that product, everything. And that's the biggest recommendation we give to everyone about anything in your life, right? And don't put anything in your body that you don't know what you're putting in.
Just like knowing the ingredients of a recipe.
Right. I always like to make that joke about, if the food just said meat.
Welcome to Healing Hearts, a podcast created by the Healing Center, voted Pittsburgh's best dispensary.
Welcome again to the Healing Hearts podcast from the Center for Media Innovation at Point Park University. My name's Mike Flick, host of the Healing Hearts podcast, and today I'm going to be joined by our co-founder and CEO of the Healing Center, Chris Cohan, and our GM, our general manager and lead pharmacist, Mike Butler. And gentlemen, today we've got a lot of grower processors that have come online in the program. We've got 22 of 25 approved in the state right now. We have 15 of them that are shipping out products to our dispensaries and other dispensaries across the state. This is something that we've seen evolve over the last 2 years, but we're really going to see grow in 2020, right?
Absolutely. So we wanted to invite them on to find out a little bit about what they all got going on, so our patients can hear firsthand the exciting things that our grower processors have planned for 2020.
Oh, they're doing a great job supplying us. Now we've got our third store open. They've really stepped up, I think, as a group to come together and under great oversight from DOH.
Well, I think from us to the patients to everybody can remember those first days.
Oh, yeah.
It's just so much different than when you had 3 products on your shelf, and that was what you got to pick from. So now, how many we have on our menus today?
I would say 225, 250 individual unique products on any given day. We run between those numbers generally.
And that is a credit to our grower processors getting up to scale as quick as they can, and they're all working very hard. The Department of Health, as part of our permit renewal process for the grower processors, has asked them specifically about their plans to expand and handle a very robust patient base that we have.
I think they're all expanding. They're all talking to me about that when I'm in communication with them.
Well, we all know that the Pennsylvania program is widely regarded as one of the best in the country. So it's grown very fast. And I think for a lot of people, they didn't realize that it was going to grow that quickly and got caught with their pants down a little bit.
Well, just keeping up with, scaling the way we've had to in our business, I can imagine what you've got to be doing if you're trying to supply, the entire state, all 6 regions.
Yeah, and it's hard, for them. You only get what you get out of your space and your first harvest, and what you can get up to scale going, from your initial plan. And I think if some of them started a little smaller and thinking that there was going to be, a little slower growth in PA, but we had very rapid growth, which is great. The program is doing so well. We love seeing more and more patients get into it. Yeah. So it's, we're happy about that. But from that standpoint, we got to catch up.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And to your point, this isn't a product that you can just decide on, design, and pump out the next day. This takes time to grow. It takes time to process, create all these different products that we and every other dispensary end up with on our shelves. And, these guys are working really hard at it. They've come a long way.
Well, to introduce a new product, if they want to go to a different, like rosin or keef or something like that, they would have to send that to the department and get it approved. And that's not a short process by any means. So it takes time, and sometimes they get turned down, and, so it's interesting always to hear their viewpoints.
What I'm proud of, I think, the most as a medical professional is I'm finally really able to offer the selection that we have, because we all know this is holistic medicine. It's a journey. Every person has to find, you've got to go through product after product to find what is going to work for you, what helps your symptoms, what has the least side effects for you. And the more selection we have, the easier it is for us to kind of hold people's hands and help them.
You don't want somebody to start off on a treatment with a particular medicine, have success with it, and then not be able to get it. Right? Yeah. There's nothing worse than that from a standpoint.
We've seen that all too much.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's important to note that all the products that are bought here in PA are grown here in PA.
Sure.
The DOH, the Department of Health, did a really great job. And in my opinion, you guys know much more about this, but they did a great job as far as the restrictions with pesticides. Everything needs to be organic in the state.
They went to a very high level to protect Pennsylvanians much more strict on the things that they don't allow in how they grow.
Which is one of the reasons behind our states and our Department of Health's response to the vaping crisis that we don't hear nearly as much about anymore.
Right.
Because we kind of did identify some of the biggest reasons for that, the causalities, and that's black market.
Well,
and it's how you produce.
You have a product that's tested twice.
Right, exactly.
It's tested when it's grown, and then it's tested when it's processed into its final form. So, and on that packaging exactly what you have in that product, everything. And that's the biggest recommendation we give to everyone about anything in your life, right? And don't put anything in your body that you don't know what you're putting in.
Just like knowing the ingredients of a recipe.
Right. I always like to make that joke about if the food just said meat, you're not in there.
A little scared, yeah.
So why would you follow a different principle when putting a medicine into your body?
And there has to be that governing body overseeing what we're doing in medical marijuana, and DOH has done a great job of that.
Yes, they have.
Absolutely.
So.
Well, it's a great background on everything we've seen up until this point and what we kind of expect moving forward into 2020 there. But, I'm really looking forward to us talking to all these growers today. We're going to have representatives from PurePenn, Lara, Vireo, and Liberty all joining us on this podcast. We're going to have representatives from all the different growers, some of which we work with here, represented on the podcast here. So I look forward to talking to all these guys.
My name is Eli Frank, and I'm an inventory specialist at the Healing Center. My healing journey started 11 years ago when I began working in the medical cannabis field in California. I saw early on the benefits cannabis has for a wide variety of medical conditions. As a fourth-generation Pittsburgher, I'm excited to be able to bring safe, clean, plant-based medicine to every patient at the Healing Center. I'm Eli Frank, and that's my healing story.
Talking to some of our grower processors that are providing the products that you can pick up in medical marijuana dispensaries here within the state of Pennsylvania. I'm Mike Flick, host of the Healing Hearts podcast. I'm also joined by our co-founder and CEO, Chris Cohan, and our general manager and lead pharmacist, Mike Butler, and our guest just joining us right now, Gabe Perlow from PurePenn. And Gabe, you guys are one of our closest neighbors in the industry here. You guys are just up the road in McKeesport there.
Correct. Yeah, we made our home here in the city of McKeesport. It's a big part of our identity at PurePenn, who we are. We're all about giving back to our community through our community fund that we've established, hiring, giving preference in hiring to local applicants that are residents in the city of McKeesport or the Mon Valley, and being a beacon for economic development and job creation here in McKeesport.
That's great. It's great that you guys are able to do that. But PurePenn, Moxie, you guys did not start in this state. You guys come with some experience behind you. Where did it all begin for PurePenn?
So I'm a Pennsylvania local,
Okay.
Born and raised in Pittsburgh. I went to University of Pittsburgh for undergrad and Duquesne University for law school. When Pennsylvania passed Act 16, my interest peaked in getting into this industry, and Pennsylvania at the time was an oil-only legislation.
Right.
So being an attorney and a commercial real estate developer, I knew what I knew, but I knew what I didn't know. And I didn't know much about operating cannabis business. But I knew Moxie from time I spent in Michigan from their products there, and the relief that some of my family members in Michigan were getting from Moxie product. So when I sought them out to be my partner in Pennsylvania, I knew their product was high quality, consistent. And then especially them being operators in California, also growing up in Western Pennsylvania, it wasn't always about what products were available from an Illinois or an Oklahoma. It was always about California and what's coming out of California for the cannabis industry is the best. So that's why I chose Moxie as my operating partner. And that's been a lot deeper relationship since we've gotten together, where we share services between our two companies and ownership as well. And so it's been an awesome partnership for us.
So you kind of brought them into town, as it were.
Yeah, I brought Moxie into town. Our company is actually primarily owned by Pennsylvania locals, and Moxie has an ownership stake in PurePenn, but our group is really business leaders, medical leaders from Pennsylvania. On our team is Dr. Stanley Marks, who heads up the Hillman Cancer Center for UPMC. And so our roots are very deep in Pennsylvania and creating jobs and businesses in Pennsylvania.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I know you mentioned somewhere in there that you had seen some of your family members really get some relief from medical cannabis. It sounds like something that was important to you. Is that a motivating factor in why you're doing this? I mean, it sounds like you've had more than one successful career before.
Very, very much so. I mean, I don't think anybody who's gotten into this industry that I've known doesn't have some type of personal connection.
Sure.
For me, it initially started with my cousin who was diagnosed with Crohn's disease, and seeing the immense relief that medical cannabis brought him. First with just Marinol, but then once he was able to use medical cannabis in Michigan, the full spectrum and the entourage effect that the whole plant medicine gave him was really remarkable. And then since being in the industry, I had an aunt who was diagnosed with stage 4 ovarian cancer.
Wow.
And we were able to treat her with Moxie products. She went from her first chemo test on the CA-125 to being over like 1,700 parts of cancer in her blood system, to by the fourth time she had chemo being less than 30, which normal people walk around at like. And so when they initially diagnosed her, they were telling her, make your peace, get your affairs in order. We can do chemo, but not much might happen. To that fourth chemo treatment, the cancer, which they had thought had spread to her lungs and liver, was confined to the ovarian area, and they were able to go in and do the surgery. And today she's pretty much in full remission.
No
so I've
way.
seen really remarkable things. And I won't say it's just the cannabis.
Right.
It was in conjunction with chemo and traditional treatments, but I have a very firm belief that it helped a lot.
Yeah.
That's an incredible story, man. That really is. And you guys, you said you had a lot of those products that really helped her. And you guys have a plethora of products, a great variety of products. Kind of in a general sense, can you give us a quick overview about what all Moxie PurePenn provides generally?
So our kind of niche, and being a Pennsylvania company and not having access to public markets, we're probably one of the smaller in size growers in Pennsylvania. Our phase 1 of our facility was only about 20,000 square feet of total space. Mm-hmm. We recently added 15,000 square feet to increase our production ability and meet the demand that's growing in Pennsylvania. And you might hear a little bit of noise in the background. We broke ground this week on a 90,000 square foot expansion.
Wow.
So we're trying to get to a point where we can scale up, decrease our prices, and meet the demands of Pennsylvania patients. But also our niche has always kind of been the high potency products. We've focused on, and when I say high potency, I mean high potency THC. Most of our products test above 85% total cannabinoids, most of that being THC. That's kind of a niche of Moxie as well. But we've recently started putting out products like our THCA Sand, which is a THCA isolate that's anywhere from 95 to 99, even 100% potency on the THC side. Our UHP, which is our ultra high potency shatter, that has more terpenes in it than the sand, which is more of an isolate. But it's still a 95 to 99% THC product. And then even our live resin full spectrum products, those test above 85% cannabinoids, 9 to 10% terpenes, and those are really full spectrum products. Our live resin products range from our batter, which gets whipped up and it looks more like a cake batter, to our sugar, which the THCA kind of crystallizes, our THCA diamonds, which are full crystallization of THCA. And then we do a good deal of cartridges as well, our liquid Moxie, which are high potency distillate. So that's a process that goes through distillation to remove any impurities and create a 99, 100% pure THC product, which we mix with our pharmaceutical grade botanically derived terpenes to give it a flavor profile, which THC distillate has no flavor. Sure. And those you'll see as liquid Moxie and the Maui Wowie, the Melon Wreck, Strawberry Fields, Root Beer Float. And then for those looking for the full spectrum in a cartridge, we make a live resin product, which is basically our live resin extraction process with some decarb in order to keep the THCA from crystallizing, that goes straight into a cartridge. That's one of the most popular products in Pennsylvania because that does have the full spectrum effect while also being in a convenient cartridge, as opposed to having to use the traditional dab rigs or Puffco Peak type devices, which you need for the vaporization of live resin products. We've also put out a PurePenn line of products, which is a little bit more medicinally focused. We've done tinctures. Again, those focus on high potency. Our 750 milligram tincture in a 30 milliliter bottle, you're getting about 12 milligrams of THC in a half dropper full of that tincture. So we found this niche, whether it's PurePenn or Moxie products, by pushing the high potency for those that need it. And I saw that in my aunt. I saw that in my cousin, that they needed higher doses of THC than with those medical conditions than they might for, a typical adult user might not necessarily need to hit themselves with that much potency.
Yeah, you mentioned that early on, Gabe, when you talked about your family member that used Marinol, and when they saw some success with Marinol, and then he found additional benefit with a full spectrum.
Cannabis as medicine's kind of always rejected the traditional medical establishment of one size fits all, take two and call me in the morning.
Right.
Once you get that full spectrum and you can start looking at the terpene profiles and the cannabinoid profiles individually, you get away from indica sativa hybrid into what molecular structure of the plant actually works for me as my medicine.
Right.
Yeah, and I struggle with that a lot. I know in standardized medicine, we always want to look at one molecule versus another molecule. So what activity does this particular molecule have at a tissue type or receptor set versus another? And that's one thing I see in medical marijuana a lot. Obviously, primarily our number one molecule that we use as medicine is THC. And for a lot of patients, really, that's what they rely on for their benefit. That's what helps them. And so you mentioned some of the vapes that you have that are primary THC, and you use some food grade terpenes to put added flavor into them. Those really do quite well, and we get really positive feedback from that. And the other side is that full profile, doing a full extraction from the plant where you have the full cannabinoid profile in there. And so it's nice to have multiple products like that, so that regardless of which way you lean, you can be somebody that finds the benefit that you need from the product that's tailored for your treatment.
Absolutely. I think we're living in a pretty cool time now. THC is highly regulated in these state programs, but now you're seeing an ability to get CBD, CBG from the industrial hemp program, which is, pretty much nationally legal now. So patients don't necessarily need to be, coming out of pocket as much for medical marijuana products other than THC specific products, where they can go to compounding pharmacies or even trusted internet sites to get to source their CBD and CBG, and they can kind of start compounding their own medicine. Terpenes also are something that are widely available. People think cannabis-specific terpenes are different than a terpene that comes from a lemon. A limonene in cannabis is the same limonene that exists in that lemon on the molecular.
Just a plant-based terpene. That's all.
Exactly. That's why eating a mango when you're using your cannabis will modulate the effects of that cannabis because of the terpenes that exist in the mango. So there's so many possibilities for what this plant can do in conjunction with other, available natural remedies.
Well, I think in the end, that's the big thing we always tell everybody is that's what cannabis is all about. It's a helper, right? It fills in and fits in for you when you're treating your condition. No one in this industry ever says that it's a cure. It's not the be all and end all, right? It's a helper. Right.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's a spectacular adjunct. It can be monotherapy in many, many situations, but like in the case with your aunt, it was an adjunct therapy, and it worked very well with the current treatments that she was getting because she had a spectacular result, which was highly unexpected with that particular disease type and the stage that she was in.
We've talked a lot about terpenes here, and that's definitely where the conversation is moving. Just a year and a half ago, we were so hung up on the indica hybrid sativa model and structure, and it now feels like more and more every day that's slipping away faster and faster as we get into this terpene conversation. And you've talked about that a lot, Gabe, and that seems like something that's important to you, Moxie, and PurePenn. Is that one of the things that's going to set you guys apart moving into 2020? Because there's a lot of great companies out there doing a lot of great products. You're definitely one of them. That and what else is going to set you guys apart moving forward?
Moxie's always kind of engineered and bred their strains that are identified with Moxie to be higher in terpene profiles. One of the issues with us is we have one of the smallest packagings in Pennsylvania from environmental consciousness, but also just the ability for dispensaries to keep it in stock, not take up too much space. So we never put our terpene profile actually on our box. So I met with the Department of Health yesterday when they did an inspection. And when you look at our packaging, the compliant packaging, we have to list 8 cannabinoids. Maybe 6 of those have 0 percentages next to them.
Right.
Let me move that off and let me put in our top 3 or 5 terpenes.
Right.
And then that will, help show the patient exactly how many terpenes, or at least the most prevalent that they're getting in our medicine. And they'll see, I get comments a lot that you don't have any terpenes in your product. we actually have a lot of terpenes in our product. Every dispensary does get our COAs from our lab tests, so they do have the ability. But to pull up a terpene profile from a COA for every single patient, it probably takes too long to do in a day for a dispensary. So we're working to try and get that information on our package. What also is going to hopefully set us apart is I've always viewed PurePenn less so as me trying to create a PurePenn brand, but me as trying to be, a center to highlight and showcase the best brands in cannabis. And that's started with Moxie, but now yesterday we announced a partnership with DNA Genetics to bring their brand to Pennsylvania. And so we're going to start with our expansion and with our ability to now have flower, now that we have proper dry, cure, trim areas, which when we were phase 1, we didn't build that out because it was an oil-only state. Now we'll start doing primarily all of our flower as DNA Genetics flower.
Wow.
There are guys, Don and Aaron, that started DNA. That's the D and the A in DNA, as well as the Crockett family, which is credited as breeding Tangy and some of everyone's favorite strains. Those guys are going to work with our team here to adopt some of their best practices for cultivation. Hopefully one day a window opens up again to bring in new genetics, and we'll have full access to their genetic library. We do probably have 6 or 7 strains that are bred from DNA Genetics in our facility currently, and we have a couple hundred of their seeds. So we're going to be doing our own pheno hunts. But this really opens up the ability to be that boutique showcase for some of the best brands in cannabis. Now that we'll have Moxie and DNA Genetics, we're always looking to bring more as we expand. Being a cannabis enthusiast myself, for me, it's always about bringing the best, highest quality, most consistent product to Pennsylvania. And with Moxie and now DNA, I think we're right on that track.
Boy, he gave us a perfect segue into your next question, didn't he? if he could be one of his cannabis strains. Yeah.
In your ever-expanding library there, Gabe.
Yeah. It's a fun question we ask everybody. If you could be one of your strains, which one would you be?
Hazes are really uplifting and energetic and creative. Being that sativa as well, it's a great terpene profile with kind of the piney lemon pine salt kind of flavor to it. If we're growing even one tray of super lemon haze in a room, all you smell is super lemon haze.
I know we have a lot of patients coming into the dispensaries, Gabe, that are really looking forward, very anxiously awaiting the return of Moxie or of PurePenn flower.
Yes.
To the shelves.
Yes.
Sure.
Coming, and I don't have a set date yet because we haven't put any flower into our new drying room yet. But my hope is by May, you'll start seeing flower rolling out pretty consistently from us, whether it's as Moxie with the traditional Moxie genetics or DNA with their certified DNA genetics. Our flower's coming, and it's going to be better than ever.
Well, we're all looking forward to it.
That's very exciting. Yes, indeed.
It's a bold statement. We're definitely excited because your flower has always been great to begin with. Before we wrap up here, Gabe, we've been talking about patients, and that's what everything's focused on, whether you are the grower processor or whether you're on our side of it, where you're part of the dispensary. If you were going to tell a patient directly something right now coming up 2020 or just about Moxie in general, what's that message that you have that you want to deliver directly to a patient?
I'd like them to know that their voice matters. When you email our contact at PurePenn or you talk to us through one of our social media channels or our website, I view those messages personally. You're being heard, whether you're in a Facebook group that's a patient-specific group. We have members of our team that are members of those groups. I try to comment as much as possible. Don't feel like you're not being heard. Whether it's a specific product that you want to see more of, whether it's something that worked for you one time and you don't find it again, I have the ability to bump that back up in the production line. So, so let's hear your voice. I mean, we want to do everything in a respectful and a positive manner as well, because this industry is about positivity. It's about making a positive change for the world. But we're always available for positive, respectful, great conversation. So I do these kind of podcasts, but we're also on social media, our Moxie_Penn on Instagram, PurePenn on Facebook, and even just the contact at purepenn.com. Our team's always checking that email. It might not be within 5 minutes, but my email is even on our website. So email me personally. We hear you, and your voice matters.
You really want the patient to matter, man, as we all do. That's phenomenal, and thank you so much for it.
Yes, we appreciate it very much, Gabe. We appreciate your time today.
Absolutely.
Thanks a lot, buddy.
Thank you, guys.
All right, take care.
My name is Krista Malloy, and I am a patient care representative at the Healing Center in Monroeville. My healing journey started 13 years ago when I was diagnosed with chondromalacia patella syndrome, which affects my cartilage and kneecap tracking. 7 years of maxed out injections and 3 surgeries later, the pain was still there. That's when I began treating with cannabis and never looked back. I have now made it my goal to educate others on the amazing medical benefits of marijuana. I'm Krista Malloy, and that's my healing story.
Welcome again to the Healing Hearts podcast from the Center for Media Innovation at Point Park University. My name's Mike Flick. I'm the host of the Healing Hearts podcast. And of course, we're joined by our co-founder and CEO of the Healing Center, Chris Cohan, and our general manager and lead pharmacist, Mike Butler. Also joining us on the phone from Holistic Industries, Liberty Wellness, Mike Bogniak. You're our neighbor to the slight north there, Mike, up in Newcastle.
We certainly are. Thanks for having me today.
Thank you for joining us, man. And, where did you guys start? Did you guys start up there in Newcastle?
We didn't. So we have our roots in D.C. We were actually first to market in D.C. in 2014.
Wow.
First cultivator as well to bring ED-rich material to the medical market in the District of Columbia.
That's very, very cool. Moving from D.C. area to PA, it's a brand new program at that time. It's only 2 years old now. I'm sure you guys ran into plenty of things, one or two at least, I'm sure, trying to get established here in the state. What were some of those obstacles for you?
From the expansion from DC, we entered the Maryland market and then very quickly transitioned and won licenses in both Pennsylvania and Massachusetts. So I think, from a macro standpoint as a company, regulatory constraints, right? For each one of the markets, they vary so wildly. It's just learning the confines from which we operate has been, definitely a daily learning experience, especially as all the regulations evolve and change.
Right. You're going to have the, essentially the same products or types of products, regardless of state, but how you grow them, what you do with them, all those rules are different across those lines, correct?
Exactly. Yes.
So tell us about where that's taking you. Tell us about some of your products that you have in a broad general sense.
Yeah, so we strive to offer, very medically rooted products and to offer, a good assortment that is replicated from market to market. So, no matter where you go, we strive to offer a good CBD rich tincture, right? That has been a staple and something that we get requests no matter where we go is for our CBD rich products. RSO, we're one of the only ones that encapsulate RSO across these markets. That is definitely, one of the most requested product lines that we get in each one of our markets are RSO-based capsules.
That Rick Simpson oil in capsule form for easy dosing. We get a lot of requests absolutely for that as well. What do you think sets you apart? There's a lot of great companies making a lot of great products in this state and other state. What sets you guys apart?
I think that one's easy. For being what would be considered a large multi-state operator, we're operate very much like a very small family-owned business, right? This started with a very small group of very passionate, compassionate people, and we're all patients, we're all caregivers, right? So we all have, a lot of skin in this game, and hence are able to recruit, attract, and retain very passion-driven people, right? And I think that's really what sets our products apart, is that everybody behind the scenes, at all of these cultivation centers really cares. They pour their heart and souls into these products in each one of these markets, with the idea that we're putting the best quality at the best price point in each market every time.
And you've got to be one of those passionate people, right? One of those compassionate and passionate people. Otherwise, you would not be where you are, right?
That's correct. Yeah, that's very fair to say. And I was based out of Pennsylvania, joined the company shortly after they received their license to cultivate in
So you're almost there from day one.
Correct. Yeah. Started at the facility, overseeing their harvest and packaging processes for a period of time. Took over the wholesale market, got to meet an incredible group of people that have started this in Pennsylvania. And, it's funny because in some markets, I think a lot of I would look next door at a cultivator, and a lot of people would assume that is our competition.
Right.
I don't really feel that way, and it doesn't feel that way in the cannabis industry at all. Is that we're all partners in this? We all have the same end goal, and kind of all work very well together to reach that.
That real sense of community of, we're all in different businesses, and at some levels we're competition, but we're all there for the same thing, for patient care.
Exactly. Yes.
What, when we were getting you lined up today, we thought you were going to be in an airport. You're at one of your facilities. You're a busy guy who's always moving around. What motivates you? What keeps you going, Mike? Why are you doing this, man?
I think everybody you would ask at this point in the game that's been involved in this industry would tell you that this never ends. Right? Mm-hmm. This is long days. This is constant hurdles, from one degree or another. And you never see them coming. But whether it's a change in regulation or anything to have to do with transport, there are issues left and right. And there are times that early on in the program it was very easy with the Department of Health allowing us somewhat of an access into the dispensaries. To get the patient testimonies, right? Like you catch any of these people and you sit down with them and spend 5 minutes with them, and that's all you need. I worked off of that for months. Now I am, left digging through the inbox, and you would not believe how many of these patients will take the time to thank you, to send you their cannabis story, right? To send you that motivation. So it really isn't difficult to keep after it, because at the end of the day, every product that makes its way to the dispensary and to the patient, is making such an impact on that that individual's circumstances and healing and bettering their position, and it matters. And, I really, truly believe that. Everybody that works at our company has that same mindset and that same drive. So it makes it very easy to keep your nose to the grindstone and persevere.
It really seems like those cannabis success stories are really the fuel that gets thrown in your fire there.
Correct. Yeah.
Well, where's that fire guiding you into 2020 here as we move forward in the program? We're 2 years old now. What's next for Liberty?
Expansion, right? I think we're right with everybody else in Pennsylvania right now that we are having trouble keeping up with it. The patient base is growing, and it's just we're doing a good job. We just need to do more of it. So in 2020, we should be cropping out on expansion at our Pennsylvania facility, probably halfway through 2020, and just looking to hopefully be able to keep up with the patient demands.
So if you got a patient sitting on the other side of this webcam, you're talking to him right now, Mike, you're delivering personally the message, which it sounds like you do quite a bit when you interact with these patients. What's the message from Liberty, from Holistic Wellness directly to that patient? What do you want them to hear?
That we're here for them, that each one of us has had, similar cannabis experience. We all have, that in our history. And it is a driving force, and we care, right? So, their feedback is critical. Knowing that we are bringing to market products that are needed and necessary is crucial, and to know that we are there for them and that we are them.
Absolutely. And now we're going to get into the real serious stuff.
Yes, very, 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 very serious question for you.
Well, before we do, I just want to iterate and kind of touch on what Mike said. You're right, Mike, as far as what drives you. It's the same thing that drives me. Anytime I go into any of our dispensaries, I have people greeting me, and I can sit down with just about any person, just about any time, and hear a story that really is going to make it all worth it.
Yeah. Definitely.
That's really what makes it worth it, and you can hear it anytime.
Well, I think that's touched on by everybody. That's why we're all here. Right.
Definitely. That's the underlying
theme
glue.
For all of us. It really is what glues us all together. But to our fun question. Okay. Yeah, we don't want to interfere with that. You could be one of your strains, right? Which one represents Mike Bogniak the best?
Pineapple Express.
Okay.
All right.
You just said that very definitively.
Yeah. What's behind that, Mike?
That didn't take much chewing on. I think that provides the the energy, right? It's that train, right. It's that drive, it's that.
Well, it's legendary. It's got a movie name.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's a reason for that.
Yeah. Well, great answer, Mike, and thank you so much again for taking the time to join us today on the Healing Hearts podcast.
We appreciate you and everything you do. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mike.
Hey, thank you, guys.
Take care.
I feel like we learned so much from our processors today. I mean,
wow, yeah, very, very informative.
Yeah, definitely. And I hope people picked a lot up out there that are listening.
Well, I mean, that's why we're doing it, right? So hopefully they can learn about the people that are bringing them medicine.
Yeah, and then the questions you generate from that, bring them into the dispensary, and let us help you with that.
Yeah, let us elaborate.
Once you get your patient card, please join us at any of our 3 locations, and you can check us out now. Get info on us, our menu, our locations, everything at thehealingcenterusa.com. And thank you for joining the Healing Hearts podcast.
Healing Hearts is presented by the Healing Center, voted Pittsburgh's best dispensary. Healing Hearts is recorded at the Center for Media Innovation at Point Park University. More information is available at thehealingcenterusa.com.